But I had already finished.
Okay, members, thank you, Eric, for the work done, for making us live stream. Let's begin with our opening prayer. And I had requested Solomon Mondi to lead us into the opening prayer. Yes, Solomon, you can come on and pray for us.
Thank you, host.
Yeah, it's okay. Yes, Solomon, you can go ahead and pray for us.
Let's pray. Oh Lord, mighty Father, I thank you for this day. I thank you for the gift of life, provision, and protection. I thank you that we're here until this moment. Oh Lord, mighty Father, I pray that as we begin our lesson, may we understand it and may we keep on practicing it. In Jesus' mighty name I have prayed.
Amen. Okay, thank you, Solomon, for...
Amen.
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 Okay, that's good. That's good, members. Thank you, members. I would like to begin by welcoming you to Edify e-learning project, where we say every child deserves to learn and flourish. So this project is, yes, members. So I was saying this project is sponsored by Edify. This project is sponsored by Edify Uganda, and it is organized by Christian School Owners Association. Christian School Owners Association, they are making sure that they reach our learners. They are making sure that they communicate to our learners. They mobilize wherever you are. They are trying as much as possible to make sure that the information reaches you and that you are able to learn online. So we really very grateful for our Christian school owners for giving us this opportunity. And not forgetting the implementers of this program. This program is implemented by the ICT Teachers Association of Uganda. So we are very grateful for you for giving us this opportunity. So this ICT Teachers Association, they are the one behind all the technologies that we are using. For example, right now we are on Zoom. We are having live lessons. You are listening to me. Time will come, you are going to be able to participate. Another tools that they are using for technology, we are able to give you the work like exercise, assignment, notes in different platforms like Google Doc, Google Form, and Google Classrooms. So we are very grateful for Edify Christian School Owners and the ICT Teachers Association. So thank you so much. So members, allow me also to welcome you. Allow me also to welcome you to this lesson. This is going to be primary 4. And in primary 4, we are going to be talking about our worm infections. That is what we are going to talk about in primary 4. So you are really welcome. My name is Teacher Tonny Akenya, and our lesson today is going to be about worm infections, is what we are going to learn. So remember, at the beginning, we had a topic called communicable diseases and worm infections. So we have fully discussed about communicable intestinal diseases. So now we are moving to the next sub-heading, which has some wider content in it, is what we are going to discuss in primary 4 science. So thank you so much. And I do welcome all of you. So before we go and look at our worm infections, I remember that we had a lesson and I gave you assignment. I gave you some exercise that you were supposed to answer, which is supposed to be marked. Yes, I marked some of your work and I'm very happy that I'm glad that most of you passed the number. But let's try to go through some of these numbers. Let's try to go through some of these numbers and then we can answer this. So our first question was write the following in full. This was question 1 and 2. For example, they say write the following in full. That was the first question. So we have ORS. So they are asking you to write ORS in full. Remember, this was what we learned. So let me just get Alana here to give us ORS in full. Meanwhile, I can also allow you to keep writing your answers in the chat. So in the chat, if you give me the answer, it will come direct to me or to admin Eric. So we shall be able to see your responses in the chat. So that platform, you can also use it to answer. Yes, let's hear from Joanna. Yes, Joanna, can you give us ORS in full? Yes, Joanna. Oh, Joanna, are you able to give us? All right, let me go to Phillips. Maybe I can pick from the chat. Yes, Phillips, can you give us what you have written? Oh, you have even disappeared, sorry. I think your network. Let's hear from Namuli. Pamela, write for us ORS in full.
ORS.
Yes.
Oral rehydration solution.
Very good. Namuli said ORS stands for oral rehydration solution. Very good. So O stands for oral, and then R stands for rehydration, and S stands for the solution. So this solution is given orally, you drink it. When we talk about rehydration, so rehydration here means the replacing of the lost water in the body. So therefore, this replacing of the lost water in the body, it is mix up of so many things. That's why they are saying a solution. So the whole thing becomes oral rehydration solution. Thank you very much, my friend Pamela Namuli. Thank you. So let's go to another question was write SSS in full. Okay, let me see those who are writing SS in full. Oh, some of you are writing it in the chat. That is good. And let us hear from Elizabeth. Yes, Elizabeth, can you tell us SSS in full? Elizabeth? Elizabeth, please, can you come on?
Teacher.
Yes.
Teacher, it's not Elizabeth.
That is it.
It
But
is
you have
not Elizabeth. I tried to name myself, but it does not work.
What is the right name so that I can rename?
What
is your
Semogerele.
Semogerere? Okay, so can you give us SSS in full?
Okay.
Okay, you said Joram.
Salt sugar solution.
Very good. Salt
Solution.
Very good. Salt sugar solution.
Solution.
Thank you, Joram, for that. Now, remember, this is where we had to ask one of you to do for us practically. This is where we had to ask one of you to do for us practically about the salt sugar solution. So this one is locally made at home, but the ORS here, the oral rehydration solution, they are these ones that come from the packets. So that one which has come from the packets already is mixed up with its components. But here you can mix up your component. You can have your salt, you can have your sugar, and you can have your drinking water. Then you can follow the steps that we discussed last time. So S, the first S stands for salt, the second one stands for sugar, and the third one stands for solution. So that is how you can write SS in full. The next question was, this was number 3. I've put this one as A and B. So the next question was, why should you wash your hands before preparation or before preparing ORS? Why should you wash your hands before preparing ORS? What can be the best answer there? Before preparing SSS? Yes. Yes, who has the answer for that? Why should you wash your hands before preparing salt, sugar, solution? Okay. Let's get some answers from you. Let's get some answers. I have so many hands up. I wish you can also write your answers in the chat, because I cannot pick all these 25 hands which are up. Let's hear from Jonathan. Yes, Jonathan, why should you wash your hands before preparing salt, sugar solution? Okay.
To kill them.
Oh, yes, this one is saying to kill germs. Remember, when you are washing your hands, you may not necessarily kill germs. Because killing germs, meaning you are supposed to subject the germs into either boiling or using chemicals. But if you are just washing your hands, what do you think you are doing once you are washing your hands? Okay. So the best answer, my friend, once you are washing your hands, you can say like the way Deborah said and Edify, they have said to remove germs. So you wash your hands to remove germs. So once you are washing your hands, you are going to remove germs. And even in this case, when you are preparing ORS and you wash your hands first, it means you want to avoid contaminating the solution. So the next answer you can give, apart from removing germs, you can also talk about to avoid contaminating the solution. Because once you wash your hands, you are going to remove germs, and then you will avoid contaminating the solution that you are going to mix. So that's the reason why you wash your hands. Now we have the next question. We need to go through these corrections, but you will find these answers also in the Google Classroom, such that you can write the correction. There is that question which they are asking. They are asking you that name any one example of solvent. Name any one example of solvent. Here you need to understand the meaning of solvent. Okay, so when you talk about solvent, solvent is a substance in which a solute dissolves. Is a substance which dissolves other substances. Okay, so when you put in some substances, they are going to disappear after stirring them. So can you give me the example of solvent used in preparation of ORS? Okay, let me hear the answers. And that one say juice. Yes, juice can act as solvent, but are you going to use juice to make ORS? Here we are looking at ORS, not any other thing. So Ben Carson, you need to understand the difference between solvent and solute. Okay, when I talk about solvent, it is a substance which a solute dissolves in it. Solvent is a substance which a solute dissolves in it. A solute here means the substance which can be dissolved. Any substance, when you mix it in a liquid form, in a liquid, it can be dissolved. Okay, so in this case, our answer can be, Colin, what can be our answer? I mean, Celine, Celine, what can be our answer?
Water.
Very good. Our answer is water. Very good. So water is an example of a solvent which is used in preparation of ORS. Then the next question they were asking you to give, oh, already I've given you the answer. That is state one example of solute. Now this solute, they are the examples of the substances when you put in water, they will disappear after stirring. To disappear here, we are using the word dissolve. They are going to dissolve in water. So we have sugar. Maybe you can add me another one because I had already put sugar. Okay, somebody can add. Celine has said salt. That is good. Okay. Yeah, members, you cannot stop these people from chatting because they are giving me the answers. And remember, the answers you are giving, they are only coming direct to me and my co-host. So we have another example. We can talk of salt. These ones are used in preparation of ORS. However, you have so many other substances that can dissolve in water. There are so many. Even there are other solvents apart from water. But in this case, we are looking at preparation of ORS. These are what we use. So the last question was, give 3 components of salt sugar solution. Component, the materials that you use to make salt sugar solution. Can you give me those components? I just want to pick one child to give us that answer. All the 3. Yes, Trinity, give us the answer.
Salt.
We have salt, good.
Sugar.
Salt, we have sugar, and
Water. Drinking water.
And drinking water. Very good. So these are the component, or these are the materials that you use when you are preparing salt sugar solution. So members, these are the answers that I expected you to write in the exercise which I gave you. Thank you so much for going through these corrections. I will still put these answers in the Google Classroom and you will be able to find it there. So let's go ahead and now briefly discuss about what we are going to learn. So I told you that we are going to look at intestinal worm infection. Now, what I expect from you in this lesson, I just want you to listen. What I expect from you. Members, I'm expecting so many things from you. One, these are the things that you as a child, an individual, should be able to do at the end of the lesson, okay? So you should make sure that you are able to define the meaning of worm. When I talk about worm, what do I mean? The worms, what do I mean? You can be able to give the examples of intestinal worms. You should be able to give the examples of intestinal worms. Then after that, we are going to look at one of the intestinal worms, and that will be tapeworms. So when we are looking at tapeworms, you should be able to identify the signs and symptoms of tapeworms. You should be able to state the effects. If you have tapeworm in your body, what are the effects? What are the results? So these are some of the things that I expect from you. Now let's begin with this. What are worms? What do you understand by this word, worms? Okay. What do we understand by this word, worms? Yes. Somebody is giving us the answer in the chat. Oh, somebody is trying. Good. I like those who want to try even before the teacher gives. Okay. Okay, so anyone to try? Yes, I have some few hands up here. Those who want to try. Yes, Mukisa. Yes, Mukisa, can you define for us the word worms?
Worms are things which are
Worms are things which live in the soil.
Yes, there are things which lives in the soils. Very good. That is, Let's also hear from Apollo Salom. Yes, Salom.
Teacher, worms are tiny living organisms that live in the soil.
Worms are tiny living organisms that live in the soil. Yeah, so I'm very happy that most of you, at least you have, yes, I'm very happy that most of you, at least you have the idea about worms. But now in this case, we are trying to talk about the intestinal worms. We are trying to talk about the intestinal worms, the one that affects the intestines. The other day when we are talking about communicable intestinal diseases, I tried to bring for you the intestines of a human being. I hope you still remember, because today I'm not going to bring it out. So when we talk about worms, whether they live in the soil, whether they are living in your body, we are calling them parasites. We are calling them parasites. Can we say parasites? Again?
Parasites.
Yeah.
Parasites.
So worms are parasites which affects the intestines. Worms are parasites which affect the intestine. So these are parasites. Now, when I talk about parasite, what do I mean? Okay, this has brought me to a different thing, parasites. Because once you understand the meaning of parasites, then you will be able to know what we are talking about worms. So when somebody tells you that, for you a parasite, this is what it means. This is what the person is trying to tell you. So parasites are living things which depends on other living things for food. For them, they depend on you for food, but for you, you don't gain anything from them. They eat food from you. Some of the parasites, they eat blood. Some of them, they eat digested food. So, and yet for you, those parasites, for you cannot eat them. For example, if we talk about worms, like the one that lives in the soil, do you eat them? No.
No.
So they become parasites. So worms are parasites which affect the intestines. So what are parasites? Also, I've tried to explain to you the meaning of parasites. I told you that parasites are living things which depend on other living things for food, causing harms to them. They cause problems to you. So that is what it means by parasites. So therefore, when these worms are living in your body, for you, you become the host. Okay, you become the host because you are the one maintaining, keeping them. So the person who has the worms in the body now becomes the host. I see. So when you have these worms in your body, which we are going to give the examples, then for you become the host. So when I talk about the host, what does it mean? A host is a living thing on which a parasite depend on. So when the parasite is depending on you, for example, when they are feeding on your blood, and yet for you are not feeding on them, for you, you become the host. Are you getting? Members, have we understood the meaning of parasites and the meaning of worms?
Yes, teacher.
Very
Yes,
good.
teacher.
And okay, thank you. And also I told you that once you have parasite in your body, for example, in your intestine, for you, you become the what? You become the host. So what do I mean? What do I mean when I talk about the word host? A host is a living thing which a parasite depend on. So when a parasite is depending on you, for you become the host. So what are these worms, which we are calling them parasites? Let's look at the examples of these worms that lives in our intestines. Okay. Let's look at these examples of worms that lives in our intestines. So do you have any? Do you know any? Okay. Let's try to hear from Ben Carson. Ben Carson, can you give us one? Do you know any example of intestinal worms?
Tapeworms.
We have tapeworms. Let me write that. That is very correct. We have tapeworms. Very good. We have tapeworm. Now we are going to look at these worms one by one, but not in one lesson. So we have tapeworms. Okay. Somebody also, Victor. Yes, Victor, you have given a correct answer. Let's hear your voice also. Victor, can you come on and give us the one you have also said in the chat? Okay, I like following the chat also, those who are giving the answer. Yes, Victor, what did you say? Yes.
Hookworms.
Very good. Victor said we also have hookworms. Okay, then there is somebody also who has said something very important. Now, when you talk about the liver flukes, yes, those ones, we get them from water, and most especially when you drink those dirty water from the wells, you can drink that hookworm, and they are, the liver flukes, they are very dangerous to your life. They can easily kill you within no time. Okay, threadworms, very good. So members, these are the answers you have given in the chat. We have threadworms. Threadworms can also be called pinworms. Threadworms can also be called pinworms. And then also we have hookworms. So these are the intestinal worms. These are the examples of the intestinal worms. So I have given you 3 of them, and I want us to look at those 3 intestinal worms one by one. Okay, I want us to look at these 3 intestinal worms. Remember, I'm using the word intestinal worms. Remember last time when we talked about communicable diseases, these are diseases that are spread from one person, an infected person, to a healthy person. Now we separated by saying intestinal communicable diseases, intestinal one. Now also here, we are talking about the intestinal worms, the one that affects the intestines. Okay, so when they are in your intestines, they keep on feeding on your blood, they keep on feeding on the digested food. So out of these 3 worms that we have given, let us look at tapeworms. Let us discuss tapeworms. Okay. Yeah, so let's discuss tapeworms. That is what we are going to look at. Good. We have also, let me go ahead and bring it there. Good. So this is what we are going to discuss. This is what we are going to deal with. Now, under this, what I want you to know is how do tapeworm enters our body? How do they enter our body? Then secondly, what do they feed on when they are in our body? And then the third one is, what are the signs and symptoms that we have when you have tapeworms in your body? Okay, and then how do we control it? How do we prevent it? So that is basically what we are going to discuss under this tapeworm. Now, where do tapeworms live? Where do they live? Tapeworms, they live in the intestines. Okay, allow me just to go and try to show you the intestines that we are talking about. Let me just try to get for you the intestines that I'm talking about, because I can be saying intestines when my children are not able to know. When I say intestine, what is Teacher Tony saying here? He's telling us intestine. What does it mean? Okay, this is what Teacher Tony is trying to say. The intestines. Yeah. Let me just get the image. Okay, you see, this is the intestines. So what we are talking about tapeworms, we are saying that they live inside the intestines. Members, are you able to see the pictures that I've displayed for you? Are you able to see them?
Yes.
So this is what we are calling the intestines. So what I'm trying to, okay. So what I'm trying to say here, we are looking at the worms, okay? And we said worms are parasites. Worms are parasites which affect the intestines. So parasite mean they are living things that depend on our intestine. They depend on us and they cause harms to us. For example, we talked about tapeworms, and I said tapeworms, they live inside the intestines. Now, how does tapeworm enters the body? How does it enter our body? Okay, or how do tapeworms enter our body? Do we have anyone who has, okay? Because in my intestine right now, if these are my intestines, they are free without tapeworms, but you can easily get them. So how do they enter our body? Okay, is there anyone who has a suggestion how tapeworm enters our body? Yes, Sarah, you told me to pick you, Alit Sarah. Okay, Alit Sarah, how do tapeworm enters our body?
By eating contaminated food or drinking contaminated water.
Oh, first of all, we should know where do they live also. These tapeworms, they live
in the large intestine or the small intestine.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So, but your answer is not the best one. So learners, let me remove this. I hope you have understood now what I'm talking about, the intestines. The picture that I have put for you is what we are calling the intestine here. So when we are looking at these worms, we are looking at the worms that live inside the intestines, and they affect you so much when you have them. So let's go back to our lesson such that when we are discussing about the intestines, you now know what we are talking about. Okay. So, okay. So are you able now to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So members, I told you that tapeworms, they live in the intestines. And how do they look? Their body is divided into segments. We are going to look at these segments when I'm displaying the picture of a tapeworm. We shall look at it. But the main point that I want you to understand from here is where they live. So they live in the intestines, which I showed you. And how do they enter our body? How do we get tapeworm? Okay, so we get tapeworm. Tapeworms are got through eating a half-cooked pork or meat. This is the main point you should pick from here. Most of these these worms that we are looking at, they have different ways how they enter our body. So for tapeworms, they enter our body through eating a half-cooked pork or meat. For those of you who eat pork, I don't know whether you know pork. When I talk about pork, maybe a child can explain to me here. What do we mean when we talk about pork? I hope I'm picking somebody who is not a Muslim. Yes, pork, what does it mean? Calixto, pork, what does it mean? Just summarize for me by saying it is a meat of a pig. The meat of a pig is called pork. Then the one for the cow is called beef. So therefore, in most cases, when you eat a half-cooked pork, you are likely to eat tapeworm, and once you eat it, it will go inside your body and stay inside your body. And once they are inside your body, what do they feed on? So once they are inside your, oh my friend. Okay, so one tapeworm inside your body, they are now going to feed on the digested food. So when you eat food, you find now the food is just disappearing from your body. Instead of your body getting enough digested food so that for the proper functioning, you find that the tapeworm is just welcoming the food and eating it, welcoming the food and eating it. So this is the tapeworm that we are talking about. This is the structure of a tapeworm that we are talking about. Remember, I told you that the body of the tapeworm is divided into segments. This is what we are calling the segments. You can see from here, there is this part, and then this part, like that. That is what we are calling the segments. So this is the tapeworm. Okay. Somebody one time told me to do an experiment by pouring either paraffin into a pork. You will be able to see this tapeworm. I don't want to talk so much because most of you eat. But here we have these two main parts. We have these two main parts, but these are the parts which are separated, they are called segment. And then now we have this part here, like in the head of the tapeworm, we have what we call the hooks, and then we have what we call the suckers. The suckers, I think, let me just try to write a clear spelling of the word suckers. I think in that diagram of mine, maybe it's not seen clearly. So we have, this is the spelling of the suckers, and then the hooks. Okay, these are the parts that we have in a tapeworm, and then also we have the segment. Okay, we have the segment here. So the segments, I told you, it's how the body is divided. So the body is divided into segments. Then the hooks and the suckers are found in the head. So what is the function of the suckers and what is the function of the hooks? If you look at these two functions, they are similar. For example, the hooks here helps. The hook helps the tapeworm to penetrate, to enter into the intestinal worms. Okay, this one helps. If they ask you the function, it helps the hookworm. I mean, it helps the tapeworm to penetrate. So when I talk about penetrate, is to enter. Okay, to enter into the intestinal worm, it helps them to penetrate the intestinal. Let me try to increase my space like this and see whether it will be enough. Intestinal wall. That is the function of this hook. And in most cases now, when we talk about the suckers, it is used for the attachment of itself. So these suckers here helps the tapeworm to attach itself into the wall of the intestines during movement. So you find it attaches itself using these two, the hooks and the suckers. So this is the picture. This is the structure of a hookworm. I mean, of a tapeworm. So members, I hope you are able to see it clearly and you are able to name those parts. Yes. Are you able to name the parts if I asked you to name them?
Yes.
Yeah, we have three main parts. We have the hook. We have the hook and we have the suckers. And then this other body, which is divided into parts, this body now is called the segment. And what is the function of the hook? The function of the hook,
Teacher, we draw that stake.
You are going to draw, but you will get it in our Google Classroom. Just I wanted you to know about them, but you are going to draw it when you get the work in the Google Classroom. Are you getting?
Yes.
Yeah, so when we have tapeworm in our body, what are the signs and symptoms? What are the signs and symptoms of tapeworms? So can we try to guess the sign and symptoms of tapeworm? Can we try to give the sign and symptoms of tapeworms? Remember, you should know how they enter our body. We said they enter our body through eating a half-cooked pork or meat. Secondly, what do they feed on? Tapeworm, they feed on digested food. So once they are inside our body, what are the signs? How is the person going to feel? The affected person, somebody who has tapeworm in his intestine or intestines. What will be the signs? Yes. Oh, I see many answers here. Somebody is saying overeating. The sign, can it be overeating? You can overeat, but how about if you have not eaten tapeworm? It doesn't show any sign.
Try?
Yes, you try, my friend.
Let me try.
Thank you, my daughter. Can you try? Rian, can you try?
Yes, teacher.
Yeah, you try. You want to give us the sign and symptom. At least give us one.
Teacher, I'm trying.
Thank you. Try.
When you are hungry every time.
Hey, you feel hungry every time. That is very good. Because it's going to feed on the food that you have eaten. So you are going to feel. I am going to give you a very big hand clap for that answer. Okay. So members, one of the signs and symptoms is that always you feel angry. That is from Rihanna, and that is very correct. So let us also hear from any other person. Brian,
Teacher.
Can you also? Yes.
Yes, teacher.
Give us another sign and symptom. Any.
Body weakness. Pain in the
That is enough. You have given us one as body weakness. Very good. You feel weak. If you have tapeworm in your intestine, you are going to feel weak. Because these ones, they are going to affect you by eating the digested food which you have that should have given you energy, but for them, they have eaten. So you are going to feel angry all the time. You will have body weakness. Very good. Let's hear again from another person. Edify. Yes, my friend. Apart from body weakness, feeling angry always, what other signs and symptoms do you have if you have tapeworm? Yes. Okay, that one is quiet. Let's go to Cairo. Yes, Cairo, give us another sign and symptoms. Yes.
It causes death.
It causes it?
Yeah.
It causes death. So when you talk about causing death, maybe that one we can put it under the effects, the results.
Teacher.
Yes, please. Edify, give us. You have come late. I've already gone to another person. Okay, give us your answer.
Scratch.
Okay, we have been waiting for your answer. So members, let me just maybe also look through the chat. Okay, there is my friend who said loss of water in the body. That is true, but you can also talk about how does somebody loses water in the body. One, you can say a person passes out watery stool with the tapeworm, with the tape mature segments, you pass out watery stool. If you look at in most children, sometimes you find when in their poo-poo, you find that worm has come out and the stool is watery. So I don't know whether you have ever seen any person who has, even it can happen to you, any person who has passed out watery stool with the tapeworm mature segment. Has it happened to any person that you have seen or to you yourself? Let me hear the experience from some of you people. Don't fear this. You can just say, yes, teacher, there was a time I passed out a stool which has something like a tapeworm. Has it ever happened?
No.
Oh, to you,
No.
it has never. I know you people, you are going to fear to tell me that yes. I want somebody who is very honest to say if it has ever happened to him or her. Okay. Lala, have you ever seen a tapeworm that someone has passed out?
Yes.
Okay, how does it look like?
There is a small thing.
Small things, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So that is one. So once you see such thing is happening, then you can say maybe this person has tapeworm, and we are going to see how we can prevent it. The next point is that is weight loss. Okay, the person loses weight. Remember what they feed on. They feed on digested food, which is supposed to give you the energy. But once you have tapeworm in your body, you will have a lot of weight being wasted. So we have weight loss. Then the next point also, our friend said, the person always feel what? Angry. So always feeling angry, because this tapeworm, they are feeding on the digested food. So always you are feeling what? You are feeling angry. These are some of the signs that you can see in yourself. The next point is talking about the stomach ache. You are going to feel that stomach ache, the stomach pain, whereby you are going to ask your mom, Mommy, my stomach is paining me, like Trinity has said, pain in the stomach. So pain in the stomach is what we are saying, the stomach ache. Trinity, have you got that point you have written in the chat? So you can call it stomach ache. So those are some of the signs and symptoms. And also you can also have loss of appetite. You may not have appetite to eat what? To eat food. I mean, so then also we can have body weakness, as someone has said it. So these are some of the signs. When you see it happening in your body, you should be able to control. Now, before we look at the prevention measures, what do you think are the effects of worm infection, of tapeworm infection? So when you have this tapeworm, for example, if you look at in young children, what are the effects? Okay, what are the effects? Effects are like the results. Like for example, when you do the exam, you get your results. Now, when you have tapeworm, what results will you get? Okay, can I hear from some of my people here? Yes, so can you give me at least 2 effects of worm infection? Somebody who is already on, I can see that is yes. If you're already on, can you talk? Isaac? Yes, Isaac. Okay, Isaac is on, but is not talking. It's fine. So we can get another person to give us the effects. Let me try to display it here. The effects of tapeworm infection. Okay, the effects of tapeworm infection. So what are the effects? Oh, somebody has talked of death. Okay, good, in the chat. Somebody who has written another answer. Now, okay, most of you are saying death, death, death. But of course, these things you can treat them. You can treat them. You can prevent them. So the main effects that we have, if you have tapeworm, number one, it leads to stunted growth in children. So you have children, they are not going to grow properly. They will have that stunted growth, whereby you find the child is not growing very well. So that is one of the effects of tapeworm. Another effect is you can talk about it leads to body weakness. Those are the two effects of tapeworm that we have. It leads to body weakness and also it leads to stunted growth. So these are the two effects of tapeworms. So like in children, once those children are having such things, you find their growth, they will not grow properly. You find a child is taking very long to grow well and will look funny. So how do we now prevent all this? How are we going to prevent all this? Okay, let's look at the prevention, and this is where we are going to summarize. So let's look at the prevention of tapeworm infestation. Okay, what are the prevention? How do you prevent this? Already you know how it enters your body. How does it enter our body? Let me again pose that question. How does tapeworm enter our body? Del, how does tapeworm enters our body? Del?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, how does tapeworm enter our body?
By eating half-cooked meat.
By eating a half-cooked meat or pork. Now, if you know how it enters your body, then it is very easy for you to control, very easy for you to prevent. So let me hear from you people. How should we now prevent tapeworm? Okay, let me pick Sasha. Banners, can you give us one? Banners, can you give us one? Sasha Ben? One way of preventing tapeworm infestation. Yes. Oh, Sasha is not talking. Can we go to Samuel? Yes, Samuel, can you give us one? Oh, members, I have, yes. Okay, you disappeared. Okay, how about Chagulanyi? Yes, Chagulanyi, can you give us one way of preventing tapeworm infection?
By boiling water for drinking.
Do they enter our body through drinking water? They enter our body through eating a half-cooked pork. So if you know that it enters our body through eating a half-cooked pork, then the first answer that should come in your mind is eating well-cooked meat or pork. Eating, yes. Can you say eating well-cooked meat?
Eating well-cooked meat.
You should make sure that whoever is preparing meat should make sure that that meat is well-cooked, well-prepared. Should not be a half-cooked. A half-cooked means it is not ready properly. Maybe you put on fire 1, 2, 3 minutes, you remove and you start eating. So you are supposed to make sure that it is well-cooked, well-prepared. That is one way you can control eating tapeworm. Another way also we can do what we call regular deworming. You can do what we call regular deworming. I know some of you, your parents are always deworming you always after 3 months. You find they bring for you deworming tablets. So when they give you deworming tablets, it is going to remove those worms that are in your intestines. So that is one way you can do that. You can do regular deworming. Okay, so you make sure you deworm yourselves, eating well-cooked meat, then deworming every time, at least after 3 months, you should make sure you deworm. Now, I don't know how long you have taken without deworming yourself, okay? Or is there anyone whom they have ever given him or her the deworming tablets? Have you ever taken the deworming tablets? Or you may not know. Yes, Mukisa?
Yes, teacher.
Hey, you have ever dewormed yourself, isn't it?
Yes, teacher.
Meaning that you are free from these worms that we are talking about. Thank you. So regular deworming, and also remember that you are going to pass out the watery stool with the tapeworm. So when you are passing out watery stool with the tapeworm, now remember some of these animals that we eat, they eat such things. They eat feces. You talk about the pigs that we are saying, they eat feces. I'm sorry to say that, but once they eat, we are learning science and we should know this. These are the facts. So once they eat and you have passed out watery stool with the tapeworm, tapeworm is going to enter into these animals. And once they slaughter these animals, you are going to eat. And once you eat it, again, you eat the tapeworm. So how do we prevent this? By proper disposal of human feces. Make sure you use the latrines or toilet properly. Remember, some of us were saying, teacher, I have ever passed out that tapeworm. So when you pass out tapeworm just in the compound, these animals are going to come and eat. And once they eat, they will have tapeworm in their body. So they will multiply in their body. And once you eat them, you will be able to, it will be able to affect
Teacher.
you. Yes.
Teacher,
Yes, please.
do they walk?
Yes, they walk. They walk. Like you do you know how like the way snakes move?
Yes.
Then when it rains, have you ever seen some worms coming out of the ground? When it
Yes,
rains,
teacher.
have you ever seen them moving? That's how they move.
Oh.
Yes. And remember,
Okay.
when they are inside your intestines, they are also going to move. And what helps them to move in the intestine is the suckers and the hooks that we have seen. So it helps them to attach themselves in the wall and they will be able to move. Okay. Yeah. So
Yes.
members, finally, this is what I had prepared for you. But what I want to first ask you some few questions before we end. I want to ask you some few questions before we end. And my questions are very simple. If you know the answer, you put up your hands and you give me the answer. Then we can be able to conclude. Okay, so my first question is, what are worms? That's my first question. What are worms? Okay, what are worms? Yes, Ben, can you give us what worms are?
Yes, teacher.
What are worms?
Worms are parasites which affect the intestine.
Very good. Worms are parasites which affect the intestines. Very good. Now he has mentioned the word parasites. So what are parasites? What are parasites? Yes, what are parasites? Anyone? Yes, so many people. Okay, let me come to Teresa. Let me come to Teresa. Teresa, if you are the one, can you give us what parasites are? What are parasites? Teresa, we are waiting for your answer.
Parasites are living organisms that feed on others.
That parasites are living organisms which depend on other living organisms for food. They depend on other organisms. They feed on other organisms for food, causing harms to them. So those organisms where the parasites are feeding on them, those organisms become what we call the host. You become the host. So if you are the host, it means that you are a living thing in which the parasites are depending on you. So for you, the parasites are depending on you, and yet for you are not gaining anything from the parasite. Instead, they are just going to cause problem to you. Like we have looked at tapeworms. We looked at tapeworms and we have seen they make our body to become weak. Secondly, they make us to pass out watery stool. Remember, when you are passing out watery stool, that is diarrhea, which may cause what we call the dehydration. So this is what we are calling they cause harms to you as the host. Okay, that is good. Now, I want you to give me 3 examples of intestinal worms. Name 3 examples of intestinal worms. Yes, we can pick Angulo. Angulo, can you give us 3 examples of intestinal worms? Angulo? Angulo. Yes, Angulo.
Yes.
Yeah, can you give us 3 examples of intestinal worms? Yes, we cannot hear you. Can you give us 3 examples of intestinal worms? Okay, so I think the network, let me try to read the answers that you have written in the chat. Instead of saying, teacher me, I wish you can write for me the answers. We have the Canaan has said threadworms, that is good. Ruth has said hookworms, that is good. And also another person here said tapeworms. So these are some of the examples of worms that we have. We have 1, tapeworms. 2, we talked about threadworms. And threadworms, we are calling them also pinworms. And then 3, we talked about hookworms. Now, under these worms, we looked at tapeworms. So my last question is, how do tapeworms enter our body? How do tapeworms enter our body? Yes, how do tapeworms enter our body? Let's hear from Sarah. Yes, Sarah, how do tapeworms enter our body? Yes, Sarah?
Using the hook.
How do they get into your body? Using the hooks is how they can penetrate, how they can move in the body. Once they are inside the intestines, how do they now move? So they move now using the hooks, which helps them to penetrate inside the intestines. So, but when you don't have the tapeworm, how do they enter your body? Through eating a half-cooked pork or meat. So once they enter now your body, then how will they survive inside there? Using those parts that we talked about, like the hooks, the suckers, and so on. So members, I thank you so much for paying attention. I just want to remind you that this lesson was made possible with the funding from Edify.
Thank you.
And then it is organized by Christian School Owners Association, implemented by ITAO. So thank you so much. May God bless you and have a nice lunch. Have a nice lunch, all of you.
Bye, teacher. Have a nice day.